Hello and welcome to day one or week one of Lifespan Development. I am your host, your instructor, your guide on the side, John Chansey. So hopefully you're in the right place. You're in Lifespan Development. This is typically the class that follows the introductory psychology course. And I've taught this course here at OSU OKC, I think a couple of semesters now, most recently taught it over the summer. And what I've noticed is that the vast majority of students in this course are nursing majors. So I'm really excited to see if that holds true for this semester, or maybe what kind of diversity we might get in there. And anyways, I love teaching this course, so I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and a little bit about the course, and then I'll outline some things like the syllabus and whatnot. I will send out videos like this every week, typically around like Saturday or Sunday, right before we start our next week. And it's just a way to, you can see my face, you can hear my voice and know there is another person on the other end, and also for me to express what I expect from week to week out of you, the student of this class. So typically the first video I send out, the one I'm recording right now, is typically the longest because I go over the most stuff, like the syllabus, the schedule, et cetera, et cetera. So I apologize in advance for this video being longer than maybe you would like, but there's a lot to go over. So anyways, again, I am John Chansey. I'm your host, your instructor, your guide on the side. A little bit about myself. Like you, I am also a student. I am a full-time graduate student at the University of Oklahoma. I'm working on my PhD in educational psychology, which is a very specific branch of psychology, and that is interested in how humans learn, theoretically, conceptually, and practically how humans learn. A lot of my research and interests are on the subject of student motivation, and specifically how can we use things like mindfulness meditation to help facilitate motivation and things like that. So that's kind of my specialty. I have quite a bit of teaching experience under my belt. I taught high school psychology and AP psychology for 3 years. And after I completed my master's degree at the University of Central Oklahoma, UCO, I enrolled into a PhD program. And since then, I've been teaching as an adjunct instructor at OSU OKC, and I also teach at OU. I teach some of our pre-service teachers. So I have quite a bit of teaching experience at different levels and many different topics in psychology. So I hope you deem me worthy as your instructor in that regard. So a little bit about the course. Lifespan Development, as I said earlier, is the follow-up to Intro Psych. Not everybody takes it. To be honest, it's one of my favorite classes to teach and one of my favorite subjects to teach and learn about. When I was an undergrad, I was a film major for the longest time until I took a lifespan class. And I don't know what it was, something about the theory and about learning about how humans change from birth to death and all of those changes and the importance of those changes really impacted me and made me reflect on my own change. So anyways, so this class, to sum it up, is about change. It is about how we change from birth to, actually before birth, we're going to talk about in utero, how we change from in utero all the way to death. So we're going to cover a lot of different sort of time periods or lifespans, or different periods, critical periods of development. We're going to look at how we change physically, emotionally, socially, cognitively, all of the above. So change is constantly happening around us. You are not the person you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, etc. The cells have changed, your mind has changed, your attitudes, your values, your emotions have probably changed. So this class is about impermanence. It's about the impermanent nature of our existence. So yeah, anyways, that is just kind of a little bit about me, a little bit about the course. I want to give you a heads up before I move forward at all. In order to be a member of this class, to be successful in this class, to be a successful student in general, you absolutely need to have access to your OSU OKC email, either on your cell phone, your mobile device, or on your computer or tablet, some way that you can communicate with your instructors, especially me being in an online class. I need to be able to communicate with you, and you need to be able to communicate with me in an efficient way. So just know that if you don't have your OSU OKC email signed up on your phone, I have provided a link on our D2L page under week 1. It says adding OSU OKC email to your device, your mobile device. So there's a link you can click on. It'll show you how to do it. If you have an Apple, an Android device, whatever, we'll get you set up. But you absolutely have to do that. Being a student requires that you are in contact with your university, your instructors. I'm saying this because in the past when I've taught specifically here at OSU OKC, I've had a lot of students who don't use their email or didn't know you could put it on their phone, or, and it's one of those things. It's like, it seems really obvious to me, but then again, I have to put myself back in the shoes of a freshman and what it's like not to be in college, being in college for the first time, or being in college after a long period of not being in school. So I definitely empathize. I'm trying to empathize there, but please set up your email. It'll make your life a lot easier. And if you need to contact myself or any of your professors, I also have a link on the same content page right above the last link I was talking about, and how to email your professor. So if you ever need to shoot me an email or shoot an email to your other instructors, here's some guidelines of how to maybe structure your email. It needs to be somewhat formal. I'm not looking for this, tight scholarly document that is your email, but I don't want to be like, I don't need an email from you that says, hey bro, help me do this. You didn't tell me who you are. I'm not your bro. You didn't, all of those things. So be professional. Think about, who your audience is. Again, all of this information can be found on D2L under content under week 1. I'll try to put all the information there. So now I'd like to talk about a couple of really important things. Our syllabus, which is posted onto D2L. I'm literally clicking and pulling it up as we speak. I'm not going to go over the entire syllabus because I think that is your responsibility, but I will go over some important points. The first is, my email address is john.b as in boy, .chancey, Chancey, not Chauncey, but Chancey, at oakstate.edu. That is the best way to get a hold of me. As an adjunct instructor, I don't have office hours, so it's not like you can just pop by and see me, but I do have Skype, and I'll be happy to meet with you via Skype, but you need to email me and get into contact with me and say, hey, Mr. Chancey or John, or however you want to address me, I'd like to meet, could you set some time aside? The next important thing is the textbook that you'll be using. You should get a copy of this textbook. Actually, if you're watching this video, you should already have this. I hate to put any pressure on you, but you need to already have this. I posted a link a few days ago with how to get a copy of this book. Either Amazon or the school textbook service, whatever, but you need to get a copy of our textbook. It is called Lifespan Development, 16th edition. I don't know if you can see that, but 16th edition by John Santrock. And I've posted that in the syllabus. You can... I posted PowerPoints as well to go along with the textbook, but those are only a supplement for after you have read the textbook. If you're not reading the textbook, then you're going to have a really hard time being successful in this course. It's just too dense and too heavy with terminology and ideas and concepts that are related to one another. And if you're not reading and thinking about these ideas in a meaningful way, then you're going to really struggle. And I'm trying to be very honest about that. So please get a hold of your textbook as soon as possible, and please read it. I'm not going to go over all of the goals, but I'm going to go over the course requirements, the assignments that are due. In this class, it's an 8-week class. Things move very quickly. We have 5 different exams. We have 20 chapters to cover and 5 exams. So you have an exam for every 4 chapters. We have an exam almost every other week in this class, being an 8-week course. So it's going to come fast. So that's even more important that you are caught up to date on the reading. There's the pros of being in an 8-week class. You get it done quickly. But the cons, or at least I wouldn't say cons, but I would say the downside or the tricky part is that you have to be really good at time management, and because you only have half the time to do the same amount of work. So we're going to have an exam about every other week, roughly. I'll talk about the schedule in a moment. You can see the exact dates. We'll have exams. They're all on D2L. They're multiple choice. I think each exam is 70 questions. There will be no time limit, so don't worry about that. This is an online class in which we don't get to meet face-to-face, so our communication will happen via discussion board. So I will put a discussion post every week of the class in which you are responsible for participating in, and your responsibility includes responding to the original post in a timely manner. That means if you want to earn full credit, you need to respond to the initial discussion post prompt by Wednesday. And then afterwards, you have until Friday to earn or to comment on 2 of your peers. And it can't just be like, oh, hey, nice job, I like what you said, and that's it. What did you like about it? Be very specific. Ask for clarification. Ask questions. Ask for examples. Be much more specific in your questions. I will ding points for that. If your response is kind of wimpy, I'm not gonna give you much credit. So all discussion post by Wednesday, and post your post by Wednesday and respond to 2 peers by Friday. And I think that'll really help the conversation flow in the class. But if let's say if you wait till the last minute and post and respond to 2 posts on Friday, you will not receive credit. You'll lose 2 points out of 15 for timeliness, which means you can't get an A on that assignment. 2 points is enough to drop you from an A to a B. So if you want to make an A on every discussion post, make sure that you post in a timely manner. There is a document on D2L under Content Week 1 that goes over my exact expectations for those discussion posts. So please read that. You are responsible for that information. You'll have one essay assignment this semester. It's a case study where after we read a good chunk of this textbook and we get through a good chunk of the material, I'm going to present you with an actual authentic case study of something happening, a developmental situation happening either to an individual or a family, and you'll have to apply the stuff that you're learning about to the case study. And I'll give you lots of updates about that as it gets closer, but just be aware that that's our writing assignment for the semester. So you have 5 exams, 8 discussion posts, and 1 essay assignment over the course of 8 weeks. It's a lot over 8 weeks, but it's totally manageable if you are good at time management. If you're struggling with time management, this is the semester to really practice and hone in on those skills. I know you can develop those skills. They're just like muscles. The more you use them, the better you get at it. So if you have any concerns, like, hey, what can I do to study more effectively? What can I do to manage my time more effectively? That is like right up my alley and what I feel like I've gotten good at over the last maybe 10 years being in college. So feel free to email me and I'll be happy to share anything with you. So that is it for the syllabus. Go ahead and pop over if you're on D2L and following along with me. Jump over to our schedule. We have all of our 8 weeks lined out. The chapters that you're supposed to read, the assignments that are due, when exams are due, all of that. So please take a look at that schedule. It is subject to change, although in an online class it really shouldn't change. It's not like we're going to miss time because of like snow days or something weird like that in an online class. So, so it shouldn't change, but I suppose it is subject to change. So take a look at that. This first week, let's talk now. We're thinking about the schedule. Let's look at week number 1. This week, I would like for you to go into D2L and read through the materials I posted under content. Make sure you're familiar with the syllabus, the schedule, the expectations for discussions, how to email your professor, all of that stuff. If it's there, you need to read it. It's for your benefit. It's not for me trying to overwhelm you and load you down with stuff. It's for your benefit, or at least I think that's my rationale. So go ahead and look that over. Email me if you have any questions at all about anything you read in the syllabus. If you read, or any of the stuff, you read something in the syllabus, you don't understand it, shoot me an email. I'll try to explain it the best way I can. But I'm here for you. I'm here to help make this flow as smoothly as possible. So if you take a look at Schedule 1 for Week 1, we're already starting really fast. More reason why you need to have the textbook. For Week 1, I want you to read chapters 1 through 3. I know that sounds like a lot. Each chapter is about 20-25 pages, so it really is a lot if you aren't managing your time effectively. My recommendation is I would read a chapter one day, maybe write some notes and reflect on it. Next day, think about that chapter and your reflections, and then start the next chapter. Repeat the same process over and over again until you've read the chapters. And then you've knocked the chapters out in 3 days. That's plenty of time for your discussion post. That's enough time to think about it, maybe digest some of the ideas. So that's up to you how you want to manage your time. But this week, most weeks, you're going to be assigned at least 2 to 3 chapters. There is no week on the schedule where you're not assigned at least 2 chapters. So it's a very reading-heavy course, especially over 8 weeks. So you're going to read Chapter 1, which is just a nice overview, introduction to what lifespan is. It is a distinct perspective within the field of psychology. And again, it's looking at change. So you're going to be, after reading this chapter, you should get a nice idea of what it means to think from the lifespan perspective. You'll be able to look at very important processes, critical periods, and issues that take place during development from birth to death, and prior to birth all the way to death. You'll look at some of the main theories of development. Those include Piaget, Vygotsky, Erik Erikson, Lawrence Kohlberg. These are the theories that are going to come up again and again and again throughout this entire course. So it's very important that you understand these theories, or at least get a kind of a basic understanding early rather than later. And then finally, you should be able to understand and explain to somebody who, if they ask, how research is conducted from this lifespan perspective. A lot of the research and lifespan perspective comes like in a longitudinal format where you're following people throughout a certain time period. That's not the only way, but that's a big chunk of it. So there's that nice intro. Chapter 2 is called Biological Beginnings. So a lot of this is probably going to be review, especially if you are a nursing major, if you're coming from a medical background or having medical experience. This chapter is going to be pretty familiar because we're getting into sort of the biology behind change. So we're going to dive into the evolutionary perspective on change, which I know that word evolution is kind of faux pas in our state, but we're all adults here and grown-ups, and I think even if we find those ideas distasteful, I guess, we can get through it, and it's okay. It's not going to kill us or hurt us. It's all right. So we're going to look at evolution, evolutionary perspective, evolutionary psychology. We're going to look at the role that genetics play in development. A lot of our development, how we become who we are, is the byproduct of our parents, our biological parents, the genes that we inherit from them. So we'll look at that. We'll look at reproductive challenges and choices that people have to make, sticking in the realm of biology. And then finally, sort of the nature-nurture debate. For a long time, it was nature versus nurture, and that's just, we know now in psychology that's just not true. It's nature and nurture. They're not butting heads. It's a very interesting, complex relationship between the two. So a lot of chapter 1 and chapter 2 are just kind of broad overviews about ideas, big picture ideas that we're going to come back to in subsequent chapters. So although these chapters may seem like review or may not seem all that important, they are laying some very fundamental groundwork, and it's just setting the table for things to come. So that's chapter 2. Chapter 3 is when we start actually getting into our first developmental period. We're looking at prenatal development and birth. So this is all about what is happening before a baby is even born. This is what's happening during pregnancy, during prenatal development. And there's a lot going on. You would think, oh, it's just the baby. They're in utero and in the womb, and that's it. But there is a ton of development taking place, a lot of growth. There are also different developmental stages within the prenatal development. So it is a critical time period, and what anything the mother consumes during this time period. I don't mean consume as in just eating and drinking. I mean, I'm talking about like mentally what you consume, like stress, that goes to the baby. It goes to, it's passed on in utero. So it's such a critical period for both the baby and the mother and everybody involved. So I'm really excited about it. One of the reasons why I really like this course, and I really like the format it's taught in, and the student population we draw from, is I often see a lot of people in this course who are parents, moms, and some dads as well. I've even had students in the past who, I think last semester, or the summer, I had a student who was pregnant while taking the course. So it's just like, she's living the stuff we're taking about. Those of you who are parents, you are living the stuff we're going to be talking about. Those of you who maybe are a little bit older, maybe you've gone through some of these stages in development, you have a lot to speak on, a lot to reflect from. So I'm really excited to see the perspectives that we share in this class, because I think there's a lot of room to share some cool ideas and perspectives. So, read chapters 1, 2, and 3. Again, if you don't have your textbook, you really need to get it and start reading ASAP. Read chapters 1, 2, and 3. I will post a discussion. I don't think I've put it up yet, but I will post an introductory discussion. The introductory discussion, I don't know exactly what it'll be yet, but I do know that I'm going to ask you to post a little bit about yourself. Tell us who you are. If you have a major, tell us about your major. Anything interesting about yourself you'd like to share. If you're a parent and you want to share that experience, great, tell us. I'd love it. If you're expecting, if you think you have some experience that's relevant to these topics, please share it. Learning takes place. It's much more likely to happen when we can relate it to our own experiences, versus just being isolated in some textbook that somebody assigned to you. Make the connections to your own life. I kind of lost my train of thought there. Sorry. Read chapters 1 through 3 this week after your reading. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I'll be happy to respond and talk with you about the readings. So the discussion, introduce yourself, talk about yourself a little bit. I know it's kind of weird sometimes. People don't like to do that, but some people really like to do it. But I don't know, it's kind of uncomfortable for some people. But I also want you to share a picture with yourself. It has to be an appropriate picture. you probably don't want to share a picture if you're like holding a margarita in your hand in Vegas and you might be under the influence of adult beverages. Maybe that's not quite appropriate. But, if you got a picture with your family or cool picture of you traveling or just something you think that, you'd like to share with other people, I want us to be able to put a face to the name. So when we're talking to each other via email, we're talking to each other via the discussion board, you can go, oh yeah, I know who that person is. I saw her face and I saw her pictures of when she went to Rome for, summer vacation last year or whatever. We know there's some bonds are being formed. I think that's very important for learning. Just a heads up as well that our first exam is next week. I will open it up probably that Saturday. I think the Saturday before the week starts. And you will have, I think, until like the 28th, until the 2nd of November to take that exam. So, be aware, you'll have some time to take it, but just know that it's coming quick. Already we have an exam next week, and I'll give you more detail about that next week, but I just wanted to be on your horizon. So, again, like I said, this is going to be this is the longest video I record for the year because I just have to go over a lot of stuff. So I apologize for the length if that's bothering to some of you. Otherwise, just lastly, make sure to read over the material on D2L. Email me if you have any questions. You are responsible for the material that's on D2L, so please don't not read it. Please read it for your own sake, not just mine. And read chapters 1 and 3 from the Sandtrock text. Read it. Don't just read the PowerPoints. And make sure you complete the first discussion, post by Wednesday, and respond to 2 peers by Friday in order to receive full credit. So I won't be too picky the first time around. I'll probably give you some feedback if your posts aren't great, if they're not meeting the criteria. But just know very quickly I will probably start deducting points for that. So other than that, hope everyone has a great week, a first week of our 8-week course. I'm very excited and looking forward to the rest of this course. So take care. Have a good week. Bye.